it's Jason. Welcome back to Hardy Brothers Outdoors. It is I guess a chilly day here in southeast Ohio, but pretty darn good day from my perspective. It's February 13th. It's my birthday, so I am relaxing here at the cabin, and that's why I shot a little video of the birds right outside or right off the deck. Looking at what all I do around here and how I enjoy the outdoors. The birds are one of the simplest things that I get a lot of enjoyment out of. And when I look back, I remember as a little kid sitting at my great grandma's house watching birds. And literally, pretty much everywhere I have ever been. When I was in college, I had bird feeders outside my window. When I got my first house, I couldn't wait to have it. As a kid, we always had bird feeders. So just a simple thing that I really enjoy and part of the outdoors for me. Part of the reason I stood here in front of these is, to give you an idea how much of a part of my life it is just, enjoying this simple stuff. This was a feeder Josh gave me as a housewarming gift. So when I got the cabin a few months ago, finally took possession, I showed up and he had hung this outside for me. The one on the far left, Debbie got for me. She bought that for me for Christmas. I got these two today for my birthday. So looking forward to getting these out here. Lots of bird activity and just something I really enjoy. But anyway, that's the birds. Today my plan was to give you a barn update. If you saw last week's barn update, you found out I was not in a good place with the barn. I talked to the contractor. He was going to get out here right away and get things going for me. So today I've actually got a tale of two contractors. That's all I'm going to say. I got a tale of two contractors. So we're going to talk about the barn and the two contractors here shortly. But the other update I want to talk about was we had an ice storm here in southeast Ohio, and it got pretty nasty. I live up in central Ohio, come down here to the cabin in southeast, and when I was looking at the weather map, they kept talking about the further south you were, the more likely it was going to be ice than snow. So I started looking at the map. Josh was out of town. I was up home. And I decided I was going to heat my place up to 80 degrees. Where this place sits, the way the power comes in here, there's a lot of room for one tree to knock the power out and potentially have it out for a while. So I cranked the furnace up here to 80. Josh was actually in the Caribbean, and I mentioned to him, you may want to do the same, so he cranked his up as well. I want to say it was Thursday night that the storm was hitting. It was actually Wednesday night. And about 10 o'clock, we lost, nope, it was Thursday night. Thursday night, we really started getting the snow and the ice. About 10 o'clock, I lost contact with the cabin. So I was checking in on the thermostat. I got a Wi-Fi thermostat, so I would check in to see, as long as I could see the thermostat, I knew I had power. About 10 o'clock it went out, and that's when I started wondering how long was it going to be out. Woke up the next morning, checked first thing Friday morning, no power. Reached out to one of the guys that lives right up the road, trying to get an update from him. Didn't hear anything from him, so led me to believe he was out of power. But what I had heard on the news was that southeast Ohio got hit pretty bad, and this county in particular got hit bad. So I started tracking the American Electric Power outages in this area, and they were calling for power to be restored late Saturday night, which was going to put me a couple days out. So I was a little concerned at how fast the temperature might drop here and what I'd get into. Fortunately, I got a hold of one of the neighbors. They had a whole house generator. They still had some, they had cable, Wi-Fi. They were able to get messages in and out. They told me everything around here looked pretty good, and that power was going to be back on Friday. So it did come back on about 4 o'clock Friday, and I was able to connect. The house had only dropped from 80 to 59, so pretty happy that in about 18 hours we lost a little over 1 degree an hour, but that held the temperature pretty well. So anyway, very fortunate that we didn't have any damage here. When I drove down, I saw no fewer than 10 trees that had been cut off the road on the main road into here. And I'll throw a few pictures up here. I walked around Josh's place. There's a couple trees down along the edge of his pond, and there's a couple that are actually in the pond. And then we had one up the hill on one of our roads. But for the most part, we got pretty lucky. The one up the road is fairly small, shouldn't take much to cut it out. But that was the ice storm here in Southeast Ohio. So very fortunate to have not had any more damage than we did. Most of the trees you can see here are hardwoods, and it was the pine trees that were falling over. So let me wrap up here from the porch. I'm going to head down towards the barn, and I will give you the update down there on the 2 contractors. So come along and we'll go check that out. Okay, I've made my way down here to the barn, and I'm not going to show you the barn just yet because, as I said, I've got a tale of 2 contractors. One is my barn contractor, one is my retaining wall contractor. And you can see over my shoulder the work that the retaining wall contractor has done. In the last video, I got a question from somebody about the grade towards the barn. And we had a pretty good slope here that was sloping down the hill directly to the barn. And that person asked me, was I concerned? What was I going to do to keep water from running into the barn? So we've actually got a multi-step approach here that we're taking. So one of my issues was the way everything was graded. I really didn't have enough room to easily turn into the barn and back cars in and out from the other end. So we cut the bank back, poured a footer, and we've put in this wall. It's about 4 feet tall at the highest point. It is ready for some backfill. But part of what I plan on doing is putting some plastic pipe behind that so that as water collects behind it, it will run water down and around the other end of the barn. So we will get the water coming down the hill, ideally catch a lot of it and get it away from the barn. The other thing that we're looking at doing is putting a French drain across the front of the barn. So we will come directly across the front of the barn and bring it right over here to the creek. So if water does make it down the hill, it's going to have a easy path to the creek and away from my barn. So good catch on the question about water and what we were going to do to keep it out of the barn. So we'll also be increasing the grade there, which will help get the concrete floor up high enough that we don't get water running onto the floor, and I want to keep it from running under the slab as well. So good catch. That is my first contractor. The guy is on the ball, knocked this thing out in no time. Great guy, and I will be using him for some additional projects. Okay, now we're talking barn contractor. And I probably don't have to say too many words for you to understand how I feel about the situation here. The last time we were here, I'm gonna try to step out here enough that you can see the barn real well. The roof was covered in snow, and this side of the roof looks the exact same as it did in my last update. The last update was the contractor told me, I'm gonna do everything I can to get you taken care of. So here we go. There's not a whole lot more to be said. We'll take a quick look inside. I'll show you what is done inside. The ice storm did make kind of a mess here. Where he's driving from, they didn't get the ice like this. So he was a little surprised when he got here and found all the ice. But you can see the back of the barn, the roof is done. We've done house wrap and a sun shield, which is supposed to keep some of the heat out of here. He's got this left to do. So he's told me that this is a day's work. So we'll see. He's going to have the chance to put his money where his mouth is. And told me 3 days on the siding and 1 day on the roof. I'm giving him 5 days to get where he needs to be. So that is where we are on the barn. So obviously irritated. I'm hoping that the next update I give you shows this barn with metal on it instead of me looking for a contractor. But the good news is I do have a contractor lined up who says he'll come in and take care of me if needed. So trying to give this guy 1 more week and then we're done. So thanks for joining. Have a good one, and I'll talk to you soon.